It's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a non-spoiler book review on Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So let's go ahead and get into the synopsis. So in Red Queen we follow this young girl. Her name is Mare. She's 17 years old and she is a red blood. In the society, the citizens are divided into two castes, the Silver Bloods and the Red Bloods, with the Silver Bloods being the elite class and the Red Bloods being the commoners. And what makes the divide so drastic is that Silver Bloods possess these unique abilities. The best way for me to describe the abilities to you is that they're very reminiscent of X-Men powers. Mare, our main character, there's a certain circumstance that happens in her life that reveals to her that she has powers too. And for the duration of what we assume is the history of this world, silvers have been silvers and reds have been reds. There haven't ever been an integration of the two into one. So the fact that Mare is a red girl possessing these silver powers is really threatening to the way that they view themselves and their community. So my initial thoughts going into this book, I made sure to keep those expectations way down here, like below sea level. That's how low they were. I also knew a lot about the controversy of the book going into it. So I knew that this book was compared to a plethora of other YA dystopian fantasy novels. I feel had I not known that, this would have been an extremely frustrating read. However, knowing that made it more enjoyable because I knew to expect it, so I wasn't as blindsided when direct references were made. We do compare books a lot. This is like another level in and of itself. I could see another story planted into the story. And that is really what ended up causing my rating to be what it was. Because of the, lack of a better word, copying from other series. Every time a reference to something else came up, it made my skin crawl a little bit. It didn't deter me enough to not enjoy the story. I really enjoyed the actual plot line and I enjoyed the characters. With that being said, I can see where it's getting its hype. If you're a person who doesn't pick up on these types of things, I don't think it's going to bother you. I think this is going to be an original new story to you. Also, if you don't read a lot of fantasy dystopian, this is going to be a very fun, enjoyable read for you. My mom, who's read stories that this is compared to, did not even pick up on the comparisons. She was oblivious to all of it. Let's go ahead and talk about the characters. We have our main heroine, Mare, who I actually really enjoyed. She was a very solid heroine, I thought. She wasn't one of those heroines who is driven by this lustful motivation. She definitely was always thinking about her family and her friends back home and how to help them. Very reminiscent of somebody like Katniss. I didn't feel that the love triangle was ever, well, it's more like a love square, was ever the forefront of this story. First we have the two princes, Cal and Maven. My issue with these two boys is purely because I was spoiled for the ending of this book. Because of this spoiler, I was never invested in the princes. I would say I liked Cal a little bit better. I feel like he had the short end of the stick. I feel like Victoria Aveyard was trying really hard to push this dark, cold, rigid prince onto Cal, who I don't think was really that dark and sinister. It was very forced on Cal's character. It wasn't believable in my opinion. However, I do think that Maven was written really well. I really thought that he was written in a very sweet, caring way. And then we have the pre-page one best friend, Killorn? I kind of was ambivalent to him. Like, I couldn't care what happened to him. He wasn't really of any interest to me. He was kind of like the Aspen, if we compare this to the selection. I just don't care what happens to you, and I don't really know why you're here. They were very different. They all had very unique personality traits, but I just didn't see any of them really being with Mare. Just want to go a little bit more into that romance aspect of the story. I almost felt like it was a little underdeveloped. There was maybe a scene where there was a connection between her and another one of the characters. The whole purpose of their plan in the end was to bank on this belief that this one character would choose Mare over everything else. I just don't feel like that relationship was built enough for that ultimatum to be the driving force of that final plan. I don't think it made sense. Next, I want to talk about the world building. I don't know what the world is supposed to look like. I have a very clear picture of what I've imagined this world to look like. However, I think it is immensely wrong based on what the author had intended. There's elements from so many different genres and like time periods that I don't really know. There is technology. Some of it is very futuristic. Also, there's things like cameras and electricity, but they're in castles and they're wearing ball gowns and they're fighting with swords, which is very fantasy. It's a weird marriage, and then to find out that Victoria Aveyard based this world off of ancient Rome. Although it was very descriptive and I have a clear picture in my head, I don't think it was accurately descriptive. Like, I think that Victoria Aveyard didn't build the world well to convey what she was envisioning. I don't get the ancient Rome influence at all. Let's go ahead and talk about the Silver's powers, the abilities, which was one of my favorite aspects. Had somebody pitched this to me as an X-Men-like story, I would have been much more inclined to read it sooner. It's very interesting in this world that they're almost a majority, or at least an equal to the Red Bloods. You would think that with that many people having that much power, it would be a much more fractured country. The Silvers live in this very strange, bizarre harmony that makes really no sense to me. Beyond that, I really enjoyed pretty much every scene that involved the training of the Silvers. I'm not really sure what they're practicing for or why the princes are training. I loved learning about all the different powers and how the houses had different powers and how their colors responded with the powers, and I loved all of that so much. It was my favorite part. I also quickly want to mention, it mentions it in the dust jacket, so I'm not considering this to be a spoiler. When Mare's powers are discovered, it's very public. They need to conceal this red having powers. So the conclusion that the kingdom comes to hide Mare's abilities is to make her this long lost silver princess. I don't know why. Why is this the first thought coming to your mind? I never bought the rationale behind why they would ever decide to make Mare a long-lost princess. I didn't like it. It was one of my biggest issues. It made no sense to me personally as a reader why that would ever be your initial thought to fix that problem. So those are all of my thoughts, feelings, opinions on Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I would love to talk about specific plot details, similarities to other things if you would like to in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!